What is going on, guys? So today we're back with another tier list video. I'm sorry I broke these into 3 different parts, but this was the only logical way I could think to make all this make sense to me. So here we are. Today we're going to be going over these 5-star units, and boy oh boy, this is the big one. So let's actually just go ahead and get started. The first thing that I do want to say is, of course, tier lists to me are completely subjective. They basically, it's impossible to make a tier list without having some sort of bias. Therefore, I created a spreadsheet to try to give me a mathematical, quantitative idea of how good a sync pair actually is. Therefore, I created a spreadsheet to kind of quantitatively give me an idea of how good these sync pairs actually are. Tried to score them based on stats, moves, passives, all that good stuff. And yeah, with some anecdotal experiences thrown in here, some bias of course, we're gonna rank these. So let's go ahead and get started. First little section that we're gonna look at is the physical strikers. Elisa actually scored the absolute highest according to my math, but I don't think I necessarily agree with her being S tier. Maybe a solid A tier. No, I'm gonna say B tier. So the reason that I'm gonna say B tier for Elisa is just in general, stats are quite good, but they're not the best, and moves are pretty decent, but also just kind of like The fact that she does have some recoil really makes me kind of feel like she's a solid B tier. She's a great striker, but she's not really hitting on like anything amazing. So I feel like that's pretty safe. Next we do have Brendan, which actually with Sceptile somehow scored lower than Elisa, but I would definitely say that Brendan with Sceptile now is definitely going to be a solid S tier. He's also kind of in this same weird position that I talked about with Flint. He's classified as a physical striker, but he has the stats and the moves to really be either or. His special attack is actually higher than his base attack. His special attack is actually higher than his physical attack at level 120. So take that for what it's worth, I guess. I just, in general, he's just amazing. His stats are through the roof. If I'm not mistaken, he has the highest stat sum out of all of the sync pairs here. It does look like it at a quick glance. So I would say, yeah, that's a pretty strong spot for Brandon to be in. Next we do have Olivia, which I am going to stick Olivia right up there next to Brandon. Olivia has literally been an absolute rock in terms of reliability. See what I did there? And I think just in general, Olivia is never going to disappoint you. She does have this awkward sense, and when I talked about Lucario, I kind of do have to give Olivia a little bit of a knock down here, so maybe like in between S and A. I know you guys are going to hate me for that, but kind of in between, because she does have a way to lower her special defense, which does put her in a really vulnerable state sometimes. So she is definitely an amazing sync pair, but I don't want people to forget that she also does have a little bit of a drawback, so halfway for me. Next we do have Chris, which actually scored really high. I would say that Chris is probably gonna be a B, maybe an A tier. I would feel like A tier is a pretty solid pick. Once you get like all of the passive stuff done and you kind of like set it up to work with Mega Kick in a really powerful way, I definitely feel like she does some really good damage. So I feel like A tier is a pretty solid place for her. And last but not least, we do have Hilda, which I feel like is pretty much the same place as Elisa for me, because Elisa and Hilda basically run the same show. And I feel like that's pretty solid, so I'm pretty happy with those. Next, let's actually move on to our special strikers, which we don't actually have too many. We only have 4 here, and honestly, like when this game first dropped, I would have put Karen like right here, left her right there. Honestly though, after she's kind of been power crept just a little bit, I do feel like she is a solid halfway between A and B. And the reason that I say that is because she's great. She does have a Mega, which in my opinion slows her down. but she's just outpaced in terms of stats. She's outpaced in terms of just a lot of different things now that we actually have some other sync pairs in the mix. So I'm gonna stick her. I feel more comfortable in a solid A. I feel like that's a strong place. Next we actually have Blue, which Blue actually scored the absolute highest according to my formula here. Blue, after he Mega Evolves, is amazing. Unfortunately, he does have to Mega Evolve, so it does kind of make it a little bit slower, but he does have Air Cutter, which just does tons of work. I honestly feel like he could be the in-between. If I can't give it to Karen, I'm gonna give it to Blue here. I'm gonna say that Blue is almost in the S tier. He is just really, really good in a lot of scenarios, but he has a Mega Evolution, which in my opinion does slow him down a little bit because he does have a big boost in his stats once he goes to a Mega, which I think does make a big difference. Next we have Caitlyn, and Caitlyn's in this awkward spot for me because she's really good in a lot of scenarios, but she's already kind of been power crept in my opinion. So I would say Karen is a strong A to B tier. I would say she's a pretty strong A to B tier. She's got really just a really good kit in general. She's just unfortunately proven to be power crept at this point. She does have move gauge boost, which is really highly regarded, but I would say she's A and B. She's a really solid unit between those two tiers, which does leave us with Giovanni with Mewtwo. Actually, oddly enough, this guy scored the absolute lowest out of the special strikers. He actually does have better stats than Pidgeot once it Mega Evolves. Just unfortunately, it seems like his kit is just kind of like okay. Like honestly, like his moves are just decent. It's his stats that really make him amazing, and he only has Power Reserves 2, which kinda like eh. So I would maybe put him in solid A tier. I don't think he's an S tier, to be honest. And I wouldn't be mad at anybody like trying to completely max him out, because of course that's what I feel like is gonna get him into the A tier. But I just don't honestly see him as an S tier unit. I just don't. And if we're going with this, we might as well just push Pidgeot up into the S tier. We're gonna push Caitlyn down to the B tier. I feel like that's not only neater, but I do feel like I agree with this. I would say that if you have Blue and Pidgeot, you definitely wouldn't be disappointed putting them all the way up to 120 or anything like that. Karen, definitely going to be a strong one. Giovanni and Mewtwo are definitely going to be strong. Caitlyn, unfortunately, since she's been power crept, maybe bumped down to B tier. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So now let's actually move on to our supports, and boy oh boy, this is where the cream of the crop is. So, just in terms of my formula here, Hilbert absolutely crushed all of this, and I think it's honestly because of how high I hold Impervious up to. Impervious is just amazing. Also the fact that he's going to have an evolution in the future. I definitely would say he's a solid A tier. Not... Okay, let's just get Rosa out of the way. We know that Rosa is like absolutely cream of the crop here. I definitely feel like she is... See, I like Rosa. I think that Rosa should be really high, but I'm also that guy that says S tier? So yes, I will keep her in the S tier for now as more of a comparative slot. Do I think Hilbert is as good as Rosa? Really, really close, but not quite there. Time to Energize is just so powerful. Whether you're in solo or in co-op, it's just so powerful. So let's just stick that there, and that's what's actually gonna pretty much secure my spot on Hilbert and Oshawott. Next we do have Phoebe, who scored extremely high as well. I actually think that Phoebe probably deserves more credit than Rosa in some scenarios. I definitely want to put her in the S tier because if Rosa's not S tier, Phoebe is definitely S tier for me. So just gonna say that. Next, I actually have Glacia, which scored really, really high. And the reason that Glacia with Mega Glalie scored so high, regen is amazing. I don't think I can deny that. It also does have Last Word, which is amazing. Its stats aren't bad at all. It doesn't have a ton of damage potential, but it definitely does have a ton of just general potential as a support. So I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Mainly because you guys are gonna hate me if I put it in the A tier, but I do feel like B tier is where it remains. A lot of people are even gonna get mad at that and say she's a complete D tier unit, but I just don't see her being that horrible. There are worse supports in my opinion, so let's work through that. So Rosa with Delibird is a new unit. It's gonna be kind of hard at this point. As of recording this video, she hasn't officially released, so I cannot have any like anecdotal experiences with her, but on the surface, I definitely feel like she's gonna be pretty good. X Attack All is amazing. Aerial Ace is really good. Drill Peck is even better. She has some decent passives, not amazing, but decent. All the presents, depending on how much you love RNG, could be amazing, could be a complete flop. So for that, I'm gonna stick her right here next to Glacia. I don't feel like she's gonna completely blow anything out of the water when she releases, but she's okay. Next, we actually have Lyra, which I personally think deserves a lot more credit than my math gave her. She is a really, really solid unit. Do I think she's better than Hilbert? No. So I think for that, she's gonna go in the B tier. I think that Light Screen works amazing. I think if you can set it up to have a weather condition being sunny, I think she has an amazing situation there. Dire Hit All is just wonderful. It's not as good as Dire Hit All Plus or, you know, whatever, but, you know, hey, it's really good just in general. And then last but not least, we have Sharon. I'm gonna stick Sharon in the C tier because he's not the worst possible scenario we could have, but he's also definitely not hitting on a whole lot. He's just unfortunately kind of underwhelming. I have gotten to use him quite a lot in the recent Mewtwo event, but outside of like Apply Yourself, I don't really like feel amazing about him. Crunch is a really solid move. Full Heal could be good in certain scenarios, but unfortunately I would have liked to see him have another buff instead of Full Heal personally, but hey, you know, I didn't get to choose his moveset, so we just gotta kind of work with what we got. I do feel like he's pretty solid in the C tier. I feel like that's a pretty good spot for him. Last but not least, let's actually work through some of our techs here. We do only have 4, and I want to preface this with Cybold kind of looks like he's gonna run away with this. According to my math, he is really freaking good. He actually outranks a ton of the other, he's actually the top ranked 5-star by my math. But if Rosa with Delibird isn't out yet, Cybold with Octillery definitely isn't out. Just looking at his kit though, the only thing that I feel like really like makes or breaks him is Piercing Gaze for me. It is amazing. Scald also is going to be really, really good. He does have a way to boost his special defense, which is fine, I guess. I just really think that it puts him in an awkward spot. Do I think he's going to be S tier? What my math suggests? No. A solid A tier, probably. Now that goes without any anecdotal experiences, but you know, we'll go with A tier for now. Caitlyn actually scores right under him. Psybeam, X-Speed, Thunderwave, we're not done yet. In general, it's pretty good. I think X-Speed is what really helps him here. I think that Caitlyn is a solid A tier as well. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. Because Grimsley being the next one, I think Grimsley deserves a solid B tier. Grimsley is good, and he has proven in the Mewtwo event that it can be really good in certain scenarios, but I also feel like DNA kind of set the Mewtwo event up to warrant Grimsley to be so good, and Bryson just kind of said move and kind of took over the spotlight. But in general, I think that Grimsley and Liepard definitely deserve a solid B tier. And then we have Acerola. I'm sorry if you are a fan of Acerola. I don't think she deserves a lot of anything. She has Sandstorm, which I guess can work well in other scenarios, but on her own, she just doesn't have a lot going for her. I honestly am just going to completely skip the C tier and go D tier here, just because she's just underwhelming in every aspect. Astonish is terrible. X defense is fine, I guess. Sandstorm, fine, I guess. Over here is very bland. Sync move is kind of the only really saving grace that it has. And yeah, it's just really underwhelming just in general. So that looks like it's actually going to be it for the tier lists. So that should be all 3 at this point. Hopefully, if my schedule held up, this comes out on Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas to all you guys that are out there watching. Whether you celebrate it or not, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Either way, thank you so much for hanging out for these 3 videos. If you have any opinions, if you think I'm overlooking something just completely and feel like these pairs deserve a different spot, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I would love to do a community voted tier list at some point. Maybe I can do that through the Discord in a few months whenever we get some more people in there. But either way, that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for watching. Always remember that if you want to join the Discord, it is going to be down in the description below. But until our next video, which should be tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and head out. So thanks and happy holidays and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you could do that, but if you don't, you could be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down in the comments below about the video. I do highly appreciate you guys watching. If you guys want to support me in any way, there are several links down in the description for Patreon, joining the community here on YouTube, or even just directly PayPal if that's your thing. I greatly appreciate everyone's name that's on screen, as you guys have showed some sort of support outside of just viewing the videos, and I thank you guys. You don't understand from the bottom of my heart. So until our next video, guys, I will catch you then.